Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee, certified brewhead.
I am Tiffany, liquid enthusiast.
And welcome to episode 5 of the LinkUp series of Beer Knowledge, the podcast. You did that really well.
Oh, thank you.
That was the first time
that sometimes I forgot what my random name for this podcast was.
You did it, sometimes we question
but
it.
But I was like, don't question it this time, Tiff. Just roll with it.
You knew it.
You
felt it in
I felt it, yeah.
I love it. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic season so far. It's, we didn't know what to expect going into it. Obviously, all the breweries are, we know relatively well. And, they're very easy conversations. But they've all really surprised us about how insightful they've been and how interesting and engaging all these conversations about this topic.
Definitely.
Because we're not really trying to expand on this one. This is very, keeping it...
narrow focus.
Exactly right. Yeah. So this evening we have... our co-founders with us, and the 5th brewery to participate in the launch, and this one we're going to probably be able to give you guys a much more in-depth background and understanding of the program and why it exists and what we're trying to do and actually how it works, because I think maybe there isn't as much information about that out there that just yet, and this is our first opportunity to really talk about it.
Shine some light on what's going on in the background, and what we're really working towards. So
100%.
Excited.
With that in mind, we are going to bring on Jacob and Danielle of Cenki and Barrette. Welcome, guys.
Hey, guys.
Thank you. You guys look beautiful.
Oh, you guys are stunning.
Same to you. Gorgeous.
There's beauty on this podcast this evening. Such a pleasure to have you both on. We've been working very closely all year. A lot of people only saw, when I say a lot of people, like everybody, only saw the fruits of our labor in August, I guess. Wasn't it?
No, was that
August?
Was it
July?
July.
Late July, early August. But we've been working on this, I think, since January, potentially even last year.
Been working on this for 7-8 months, I'd say.
Yeah, it's, been a labor of love for all of us, a lot of learning and, it was something new for all of us. So we're really going to get into that tonight. So it's a genuine pleasure to have you guys back on. By the way, if you want to hear the full Cenki and Barrette story, hit up episode 30 of the Adjunct Series podcast where we had a great chat with Jacob. I think it was, Noah and Chris were there too, yeah? From memory.
I think Chris was there. Oh, did they freeze?
Did you guys freeze? Uh-oh.
Let's see if they come back. This whole time?
How's it freeze? That's so strange.
We talked for an hour and a half before this.
Yeah. We can give it a second, see if it comes back.
Yes. Who was on that one? Let me double check while we're waiting. They might drop out and come back.
Yeah, if they drop out and come back in, we can keep it talking. It was episode 30, and we talked about their full history. They opened up in May last year, and right in the middle, of the pandemic, on the same day as Third Moon. So they're kind of like twinsies as such. So definitely check that podcast out. Here we go. They'll dial back in a sec. And learn more about Cenki M's story, because it is very cool. But this evening, we're going to really get into this. So we have Jacob and his wife Danielle. So she's been a part of LinkUp from the beginning, and also heavily involved in Cenki and Barrette and how that all goes as well. So we're going to get into that. We're going to actually crack their beer to get started. Their LinkUp beer. Look at that! Ooh, is beautiful. Now,
gorgeous.
I wonder if we should wait till they dial back in. Can you just tell them to dial back in?
Message to see if they can just dial back in.
The first 4 beer, Dominion City came in with a Pale Ale, 5%. Town came in with an IPA at 6%. Brewski came with a double IPA at 8.5%. Third Moon came in with an IPA, I think it was also 6.5 there. And now Cenki did something a little different, so they were all kind of, New England hazy kind of gems. They did a Cascadian Dark Ale, which I believe is another name for a black IPA.
Well, hello, welcome back.
We got you
I didn't know what happened. We froze too, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
I imagine we froze too. I was like, how are we talking for 45 minutes and it never froze once? And they were like, all right, let's record. And then, of course,
it goes.
Yeah.
Of course, right?
Very sorry about that.
Oh no.
Oh, it's the beauty of tech. People are used to it. That's why I appreciate it all a lot now. Everybody is really cool. That's why that was the problem. My input is too high.
Okay, there you go.
Everyone is really cool about technology failure in these times because everyone's using it. It is, even though things are getting mostly back to normal, there's still a lot of communication like this, so people are chill. So thank you for bearing with us. We kept talking, we kept it going.
Yes.
I was just showing the beer itself. We're going to finally get into that one, and I was just explaining that this was the first non-direct IPA.
Yes.
I guess a Cascadian Dark Ale, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a black IPA. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Cascadian Dark Ales are sort of like predecessor of the black IPA. The black IPA came sort of like it's a hoppy dark ale, basically. Traditionally was hopped with Cascadian hops.
What's a Cascadian
so it was
hop?
Just sorry?
What's a Cascadian hop?
It's not a Cascadian hop. It's a Cascade hop. So Cascade hops from the Pacific, from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Use Cascade hops in those beers. So we did a take on it. We just decided to call it that because we didn't hop this one as much as the first black IPA we did, which was a collaboration with L'Autre and Aylmer.
Gotcha.
So we just like to zig when everybody zags at Cenki, I think. And for LinkUp, when people were sharing their beer recipes with us, and everybody was doing IPAs, and we love IPAs, and we love the breweries we worked with who did IPAs, and they all did a wonderful job. We just wanted to throw a bit of something different in the mix for our collaboration. And because fall was descending upon us, we thought a Cascadian Dark Ale would make for a nice roasty fall beer. So we decided to go with that for our LinkUp initiative.
And descending fall isn't it? Very quickly, very swiftly, just coming through.
Very. Well, first of all, guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
Get it in you.
Pleasure.
Delicious.
Nice. This is my first time trying it,
Yeah, we waited.
Oh, you waited this whole time? Because I think you've had the beer for probably a week or a few
No,
days,
well,
or...
we missed Chris by an hour. We left and went to Prince Edward County, and he came afterwards, so he left it with Tiff's cousin, who lives here as well.
Yeah.
So he, people might know Dan, but he grabbed them for us. So he had them sitting in his.
He lives in the building, and Chris had to sneak the beer in a bush somewhere and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
But hey, made it work. Actually, I hope no one listening knows this because there's a special bush drop-off process we have now with Chris. If we're not,
Yeah.
it's very good. Yeah,
Now
yeah.
people know.
I know. Now they're gonna be working, going through our yard trying to find
the Cenki
trying to find the Cenki.
No, this is fantastic.
This is great. This is so great, and I love that you did something different. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, I think it really broke up. You were right. It really broke up the hops. I mean, obviously we. People noted that we worked with a lot of hype breweries in this launch series, which kind of wasn't intentional. We just thought about breweries we really liked and didn't think of it in that way. But obviously they all went, with IPAs because that's what they do best. That's what sells best. We gave them that, freedom to do what they want. So this is really interesting. I don't recall having a Cascadian Dark Ale since the Flying Monkeys did one. I'm talking 10 years ago. That was one of their main beers. So I really just enjoyed the throwback name. Really cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's kind of we have a penchant for historical references at Saint-Baron. We do a lot of lagers. I don't want to say we don't spend a lot of time on names for our hazy stuff or our IPAs. We do tend to go with sort of tree references from the Pacific Northwest when it comes to our West Coast stuff, West Coast IPAs and whatnot. We like to keep it music sort of centric with our haze. And with our more traditional stuff, our lagers and whatnot, we try to really go deep into the history of the style and all that. But for LinkUp, I mean, the beer was going to be called LinkUp regardless. So we did this one with Simcoe, Azaka, and Chinook, I think. So we didn't go Cascade with this, but we like the softer sort of hop profile that came with this one. Almost sort of in between a hoppy kind of American robust porter and a black IPA. So we just decided to go throwback with this and go with Cascadian Dark Ale because we love our throwback shit.
Well said. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
This
is so good.
It's great, right?
This is really, really good.
Really smooth.
Yeah, so
super
smooth.
balanced. Great chocolate malty presence.
Yeah, I
like
love
that
it.
piney bitterness in there, but it's not over the top. It's like you guys are just like. You guys are amazing. There's nothing. You guys are so in such a fantastic position as a brewery because there's like you do everything on a hype level. So it's sort of like you can't be pinpointed into one. Like, oh, you're the haze hype guys. Oh no, when they check our lagers or check our porter is fire or all of that. It's amazing. You guys just really craft this stuff so exceptionally well, man. I love you guys. Before we even connected, like I was already heavily
You're a big fan.
fire.
Yeah.
I was already, because Chris is a friend, so I was already like excited for him to work something good. He was amped, and I was like, okay, let's see. And everything has been A1 since the beginning, man. So love it from your branding to everything, and that is kind of why this was extra interesting to us when you came to us with the idea, which I'd love to get into because I was already such a big fan of everything you did. We had a really great podcast was it last year?
I was trying to find it.
It feels like a year ago, probably.
I think it was a year. It was episode 30, and we did 79 of that season, so it must have been in the first few months of doing that. Yeah, that's the one.
November 4th.
Danielle's first time on the podcast, though.
Yeah.
Ever?
It's my
Oh yeah. Well, hello. Cheers to that.
I guess no.
And very happy that it's with you guys.
Yes, it's an honor. It is really great, and there's no people we could have no better people we could have teamed up with for this. So I'd love to.
That was October 30th of last year, and it was Chris and Noah.
It was with Chris and Noah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is. We should do it again, like in the fall as well, to sort of catch up. In like another 3-4 hour banger would be fun. So let's get into like how LinkUp started. I think because that would be something that we sort of haven't really touched on in this series yet, and this is perfect. So do you want to maybe set the scene on what you guys had, just leading up to the idea for LinkUp when Cenki began, and what values that you already started with, and your Black is Beautiful releases and stuff, and then what led you to want to do something more, which is what this became.
So at Cenki, we took notice, obviously, of the Black is Beautiful beer movement. It was always from the get-go, and me talking with my partners, that was pretty. We were all pretty clear that we wanted, as a brewery, to be a factor for change, positive change. Whether it be in our community, different causes, whatever. We feel like breweries hold a special place in communities, and we can do certain things because of the business model is so unconventional. We can sort of say things or go different ways where other businesses don't necessarily dare to go. And we took notice when Black is Beautiful started happening all over North America, mainly. I'm not sure if it took off in Europe, but we wanted to sort of do something in regards to that, but we were very reticent, or we were very hesitant of doing anything that would seem or look like a cheap, opportunistic marketing.
Like
that
performative.
was it was our main concern. We saw a lot of people sort of jumping on board, and we were just afraid it would be not that it's a bad thing, but I think of like the ice bucket challenge for those old enough to remember that. I don't know how many people ended up actually contributing to the cause, but we didn't want to jump on something just because it was trending, so to speak, and then not sort of back up our words. So it was something that was so such a sensitive topic, I think, for us, that we were trying to be very mindful of how we were going to approach it and doing it the right way. Just a flash in the pan, one-off sort of Black is Beautiful. We're raising money, then we're collecting those funds and throwing it back to the communities and say, we did our part. Here's some money. Handle your stuff. That's not really what we saw as it was just too easy to sort of like look good, do something, and then so we actually sat long and hard before deciding on doing the Black is Beautiful collaboration. I chatted with Chris a lot. I was more standoffish with the whole thing. He was more pushing in terms of, hey, if anybody in Quebec should do this, it should be us, because and he's talking to me, he's telling me, more than anybody that this is a cause near and dear to our hearts, and there's a bigger picture at stake here. So we decided to join in the Black is Beautiful effort, and but we were pretty adamant internally that we wanted to do more. We didn't want to just sort of collaborate, do one beer, make it look good, and we're part of this, and then sort of right off into the sunset. So we worked with a local organization, and eventually we decided that we had realized all along there was a problem within our industry in terms of the diversity and representation. So we thought, why not just push it a step further and try to diversify our own industry? So any problem that arises, it always starts with home first, and you got to take care of you, make sure you affect change around you, so that then it can become sort of a growing thing. So we thought that resources would be well spent in terms of the money we were raising, because we actually did Black is Beautiful twice, and then we gave it a double barrel treatment and released it a third time. So we thought we could use those funds to create something that would help diversify our industry, which had pretty much a lot of the same problems that we see in a bunch of different places. So we decided to launch this thing, and we had immediately thought of you guys, because we figured, you guys might have faced, and this was all, and just to give people a bit of context here, we hadn't talked, I think, back then, or if we did, it was very little. We did that podcast, but I think this is pre-LinkUp. Yes. So we thought of you guys because we thought, we might have, Danielle and I, gone to breweries, and you guys have gone to a lot of breweries as well. And we thought perhaps we'd experience the same sort of, not negative experiences necessarily, but we had sort of noticed the same things. And so it was something we thought we might have in common. So we got in touch and started working and jamming on the LinkUp idea. And that's where it sort of all came about from. It initially came from the Weathered Souls Black is Beautiful. And then we decided to do something that was more sort of brewing industry centric in terms of diversifying our own industry.
I love that. And it's cool because Chris actually came to me and talked about longevity. That was like a big thing that Chris was talking about. Like,
was that when we visited?
When we came visited.
Yeah, you went there.
We were there. Neither of you were there.
One time.
And we were just like, it was like right after.
I think it was July.
It was July of last year.
When the cases went down, and we were like,
and we're like, okay, we'll have, we'll drink on this patio here.
It was the very first time we drank out of something that wasn't from our house.
Yeah, for like 6 months at that point. Yeah. And it was beautiful. And it was such a beautiful experience. Like, your place is beautiful. But that was like a great conversation Chris had. Like, what we're thinking about at Cenki is like, how do we make it not just this one instance, this one blip, but something that's longevity. So yeah, it's very, very cool. You definitely followed through.
Yeah, and I think Jacob summed it up like really well. It was like we really respected the initiative of Black is Beautiful. We felt even if it was just to raise awareness and so people were aware, it was amazing to see how many breweries kind of took part of that. But for us, because it was such a personal endeavor and such a personal matter, because we're a biracial couple and we've been to so many breweries in Canada and United States, and we've traveled like in Europe to visit breweries, and it was obvious every time we were going to these breweries, people were very welcoming, and it's such a nice industry, and people are very nice. But it was very, very obvious that it was typically men and white men and bearded men, and none of them didn't feel welcomed at all, because I always felt welcome. But I was like, oh, we were having a lot of discussion of why is it like this? Like, why is it more diversified? Is there something we could do? And then eventually the brewery happened, and Cinquième Baron opened, and then they did Black is Beautiful. And then I think it was just a matter of, can we do something? And if now we're not doing anything, like just starting from an idea, but if we're not taking this opportunity to try to see what else or what more we could do, who's going to do it? It needs to start somewhere. And if you have like a good intention and a good heart, I feel like things are just going to organically fall through, and then you can start small things to have a big impact in the end. So I think it's just an amazing opportunity. And if it's inspiring other breweries or other industry, even like to try to have an impact on their own industry and make it very welcoming, very inclusive. And in 2021, like, there's no excuse not to be like very welcoming and inclusive. We just want to be part and have like an impact in what we can do in our industry, and even further from that.
Yeah, no, beautifully said.
Yeah, man, exactly.
Yeah. I was just thinking about something, and also because I am speaking, you're the first Black woman that we're having this series that we're speaking to, aside of myself being on here. And I'm just curious, and because you go through to the breweries, Black is Beautiful was very interesting in Quebec when looking at Ontario. So like Ontario had like much more of an uptick of like people participating, and then in Quebec, we know in the end I think we had like 3.
A new one came out this week from Alafoot.
Oh yeah, which is awesome. So Alafoot, so we're at 4. We're at 4, and I'm just curious on your perspective as like, and maybe this just sets groundwork and understanding for people as to like maybe a little bit of perspective on Quebec as to why maybe you think there wasn't as much of an uptick on something like Black is Beautiful here as there would be in a place like Ontario or in the US.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's tough to answer. I can't, I feel like we can't answer for an industry, right? We can't answer for other breweries. I discussed this with Chris a little bit, and his thinking was that perhaps the language thing was a bit of a barrier for some breweries in Quebec, which, in all fairness, it might have been. We operate out of Aylmer, Quebec, which is right across the bridge from Ottawa. We're right on the border of Ontario and Quebec. We're very bilingual in this area. So that might have something to do with it, because I believe out of the 3 initial breweries, à la Fût now participated. And I think their Black is Beautiful is available in Montreal in some of the stores where LinkUp is available at the moment. So you can actually buy both at the same time, which is kind of cool.
Look at that.
So for doing that. Yeah, La Canette promoted that on their social media.
Sick.
So I don't know. It might be a language barrier thing. We don't have that same sort of relationship, I feel, with language in Gatineau, especially in Aylmer, because it's not half English, half French, but it's pretty close, considering other municipalities in Quebec. But Canada did a version on tap, so we were actually 2 Gatineau breweries to join in the effort. So in that sense, maybe that makes sense.
That's why Sir
John. A little bit.
So none in Montreal.
It was like Sir John is the other one, so that's interesting.
Sir John's the other one.
Yeah,
exactly. And Sir John is not too far from Gatineau. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away. So I don't know. That might have something to do with it. But beyond that, I'd hate to speak for other breweries. And who knows, they might partake in LinkUp instead, because it speaks to them more, and because it doesn't hail out of Texas, it actually hails out of Montreal, where you guys are, and Aylmer, where we are, and now it's spreading all over the place, with breweries in Ontario taking part, and we're hoping different breweries in Quebec taking part as well. So we're trying to make this as not local as possible, because it is a national problem. It is an international problem. So yeah, tough answer, tough question to answer. That covers it.
No, I think it's fair. I think language could definitely have something to do with it, because Quebec is more broken up, I guess, in the end. Like, we're Anglos, for example, so it's like we live a different experience, I guess you could say, as well. So yeah, like where we weren't in Ontario, you're just living you. Like, there's no separation for anything. So.
At least by language. I'm sure there's whole communities that we don't even know exist here because we don't speak the same language, so we don't really communicate. I noticed that in the hip hop scene, like the coming in here in the Anglo scene, there's a whole French scene that I didn't even know about, really. Like they didn't come to our shows, we didn't go to their shows. Like it's very segmented in that way. I was gonna say, even step back just a second, because I feel like that maybe with LinkUp, people are discovering it and they're like, maybe they haven't seen people like Crowns and Hops, they haven't seen Black is Beautiful, they haven't seen Ren Navarro talking about all of this type of stuff, and they might be like, what are we even talking about here? I was wondering if anyone had any thoughts on maybe why, but basically for people who don't know, there is a very, as you guys explained, there's a big, you look inside a brewery and it very rarely represents what the world outside the brewery looks like. Not only that, but if you in certain areas, I can only probably speak to the States even more than here, but you go to certain areas and there is basically no craft beer available, and typically those areas would have to be where a lot of minority populations reside. They're not even really serving the opportunity to purchase craft beer at a convenience store level type of thing. I was sort of curious if anyone had any thoughts, just to paint the picture for people who are sort of don't really understand the problem we're trying to solve in beer. Is maybe why do you guys think that to all three of you, why does anyone think that craft beer hasn't really penetrated other communities like it has the white community? And what if there are any barriers specifically to that discovery, which is really what it comes down to. It's all about discovery and showing people that these flavors exist and these flavors are for everybody, and the more people we have involved in it, the more interesting the industry is going to be. Do you guys have any thoughts as to maybe why we are such a monoculture currently?
It's actually part of the discussions that we had between ourselves, Jacob and I, trying to see why is it like this? Like, what led it to be like this? And I was trying to see, even like when I was growing up and with my own family and my cousins and brothers, and I was like, they drink beer, but I don't think they're aware of the craft beer industry. Like they know beer, like macro breweries, not micro breweries. And then we were trying to see, like, why is that? Why is it like this? Like, is it because it's just an industry that started and then it evolved and now it's being super popular? And I don't know if it's, as it grew, it was typically white men that owned the breweries and that were interested in that business, and then the marketing itself interested a particular group of people. I don't think it was intentionally done in a way to be excluding anyone, but I think that just by having similar people being interested in the craft beer industry, it made it now being this massive industry where it can be a little bit intimidating for people to feel that it's opening and welcoming. Because as I said earlier, every time we were going to a brewery, I always felt that people were so nice and so welcoming, and the beers were so good and so delicious. And I learned about beer when I met Jacob. Like, we've been together for 6 years, and before I met him, I didn't know much about beer. I thought I didn't like beer because I only knew about the macro beers. And then when I because of Jacob, like, it made me taste all these micro breweries and lambic styles and all these different styles of beers that I wasn't even aware existed. And I'm like, oh, this is delicious. But why isn't the word around with more people? Like, why isn't it getting around to everyone, so everyone is aware? I think now in 2021 it's more there's more awareness because it's just such a more popular industry, and now we're kind of facing the after effect of an industry that started maybe as at a smaller scale, and that grew very rapidly with a particular group of people that were interested initially, and now it's just catching up and making it more available to everyone, and so everyone feels that it is welcoming, and we can change the industry. It doesn't need to stay like this. It can evolve as any industry. And you mentioned, like, you referenced rap, and I think there's a lot of subculture in every kind of field, that they start very small and then they grow like very, very rapidly, and it happens organically, but it still feels like it's a little bit of a subculture, and then it may be a little bit harder for others to feel included in that subculture. So now the beer industry is definitely not a subculture. I think it's massively popular, but I think it's just a catching up that needs to happen now.
It's still very geeky though, as an industry, and I feel like any
Yeah.
subculture that gets deep into that geeky level, and I say this with the most affection possible you can, give out to that term. But any industry or subculture that's where people are very knowledgeable, I think is going to automatically become a little bit intimidating for anybody to enter. So I see that as a bit of a barrier. I think possibly Danielle touched on something that I had actually never thought about, so thank you. But that it grew so rapidly, and I think we owe a lot to probably bearded white men for making that segment of beer grow so much so rapidly. It just blew up, and just everybody was showing up, and
Yeah.
I certainly didn't see the racism, but I wouldn't see it either, because I'm the demographic that was sort of targeted by many of those breweries. But visiting with Danielle and getting her feedback on, when we were coming back from breweries from all around the world, was that it's noticeable. It's not that it's not welcoming, but it's noticeable, and eventually it sort of becomes just homogenous, and it becomes something that's okay, this is for white men basically. And so LinkUp was we saw something that in traveling to different countries, you understand that there's a big segment in Jamaica. Tiffany, you know that, I'm sure, drinks stout, and Guinness is like a big thing there, and Dragon Stout is a big thing there, and people don't necessarily know about it. Or I have friends of Congolese descent, and they're again another pretty sizable stout market that you wouldn't necessarily know about. So I think beer is very present in a lot of different cultures, but the craft beer industry sort of got really closed up and really geeky really quick. And I think just like anything that becomes popular culture, the industry needs to sort of catch up with the world outside of it today. And I don't think that it's not open. It's not open to it. That hasn't been my experience. I don't want to speak for Danielle, but I don't think it's been her experience either.
No.
But the diversity was definitely lacking in every country and in almost every brewery we've visited. So it's noticeable that there is really a lack of diversity in the industry. And we thought that with this effort, we could make it a bit more inclusive and welcoming, and sort of pass on the knowledge and sharing information. And so we just thought it was a great opportunity to do that. And so we decided to just do it along with you guys and a few other people from Saint-Campbell.
There you go.
I love it.
And I want to add on that too. I think some issues as well that are present is, like, if we look at the general makeup of like the way the system overall works, there are like systemic inequalities that can prevent certain types of people from accessing capital, and opening a brewery is so capital intensive. So we see this in the brewery, and that's one thing, but you can see it with other things in terms of like, there was like, and I only know like numbers like this because of another program we're working on, but like even when like businesses were getting like PPC loans and all these loans in the US, I think like 1% of them were Black. Venture capital investments, it's like 1% to 1 to 3% are Black. So it's like the capital is also an issue. And then when you think about that and couple it with that, a lot of the times, and it's not normally intentional, but people tend to hire people who look like them, because you might be in an interview, and the same thing you're saying with the beer geeky thing, then, you know, like someone comes in and maybe they're just not going to hit off in the same way because they're just applying for the job as like, cool, I saw this brewery ad and I'm going to apply. Where like I might have this great conversation with someone because we're nerding out over IPAs, and then I end up hiring that person. So I think that is what affects, which is why LinkUp's great, right? Because in the end, we're trying to introduce people into the industry for this reason, and like open up breweries to like a wider pool to pull from.
Yep.
But I think the hiring practices, and then the hiring trickles down to like, okay, you just have your white man who got the money because you might have more access to capital, then you hire the white guys, and the white guys bring their friends, and then it just is this thing that continues to be just why it gets reflected.
I mean, the systemic racism is rampant in many industries, including the brewing industry. It's everywhere. So that's a more fundamental problem, I think, in our society, which then translate into our industry and many other industries. But that's why we tried to, instead of just throwing money of, you know, fundraising and throwing money to different organizations, we thought, well, why not just try our hand at bringing forth positive change within the industry? And because we're working in it, we feel we're in a position to hopefully try to stimulate that change. And so far, we're happy to say that the response has been so good. We've held our first applicant interview yesterday, which went really well, and we've got more set up for the coming days and weeks. So we just felt like you know, the brewery needed the brewing industry needed some change, and it's not happening fast enough. This movement is blowing up quickly, and we just want to sort of make sure it represents the world out there as it sort of grows, because it really should. It's for everyone to enjoy. You know, everybody, as we say in our material with LinkUp, everyone's welcome to participate in the industry. There's room for everyone. So we decided to try our hand along with you guys to try and stimulate that change and bring on positive change to the industry.
And just to add to that, I think the great thing is that nowadays, like, it's easy to get a message around. This is not something that is overcomplicated. Like, everyone can do their own thing. Like, even that's great. Like, there's a LinkUp platform, but any brewery owners, anyone who works at a brewery, anyone who listens to this and has never been maybe to a brewery, or you can share these things, you can share links, you can share the information, and we can all be an act of change by doing our own small thing. Like, it doesn't need to be a huge thing. But I think that the fact that we're now in this area or era of time where messaging can be broadcasted very rapidly, it's not too late. It's really not too late. I'm super optimistic that, you know, by having some small changes, it's going to lead to bigger changes. And I'm super optimistic that the industry will someday be reflective much more than what it is right now. And I'm just thinking about women in the beer industry as well, because initially, like 6 years ago, when we would do these huge 2-hour lineups to go get those IPA beers, it was really only white men. And now, like, I look at people that come to the brewery, like, it's so much more diversified. Like, we see like lots of women, like women groups that come in, and we were not seeing that before. So I think like change can happen, and I'm sure that someday we'll see that with, you know, multiple people from different origin and background coming in, enjoying the beers because it is delicious. if you think you don't like beer, you'll find at least one style of beer that you like for sure, and it's gonna trigger that interest and generate the and an engagement in the beer community and the beer industry, because I think microbreweries are really community focused as well. Like they're a big part of their own community, and that's where it starts, like your own community. So
Yeah.
It's so true. And I guess for people to also, you guys made such phenomenal points. This is great. The final thing I want to just add on top of that before we maybe get into a bit more of the details of what LinkUp is, how it works. Like some people might be like, okay, but like who cares? Like what difference does it make if craft beer looks like the outside world? Well, if you're into craft beer, and right now in Canada it's what, 5% of the industry, and in the States last I heard it was about 12%. But it might have changed with seltzers and these other categories that are actually chipping away at craft beer. If we want it to grow, and craft beer nerds or craft beer noobs want to, go to a restaurant or just go somewhere and be able to find really great craft beer wherever they are, in order for that to grow, we need more people to be interested in it. We need to have more market share, and it's not going to necessarily commercialize it, but it's going to make sure that it's available everywhere. And when we bring in people with different perspectives, we're going to have different taste palettes. Maybe there's going to be different ingredients. The beer itself is going to change. Yeah. There'll be maybe a brewery that's owned by people from India, and they'll have this whole theme. Maybe they have this cool food that matches all these different spices that are in the beer. And then you've got this whole community that looks like everybody outside in this dope brewery owned by these Indians. And I'm like, yo, this is amazing. And that's the type of thing we don't have.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about an imperial sweet stout for the longest time that uses sugarcane aged in Barbancourt rum barrels, just to make it extra, Hispaniola, Haitian flavors. And if you don't talk to everyone and not everybody's sort of exchanging information, you don't necessarily understand how to put those flavors together or
that they exist.
Or that they even exist.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, so it's it opens up not only is it the right thing for us to open up the brewing world to people who I think look like my wife, who look like my friends, who look like who look like the world around us, but it's also a way for breweries to sort of open themselves up to a world of different ingredients and fermentation techniques, and it's a 100%. Big wide world out there, and everybody's got bits and pieces of it and information, and there's good stuff going on everywhere, and we think certainly that we all gain from sharing that stuff and creating stuff that's more inclusive so that we can all share it together.
Sorry, I laughed because I thought you said it's a big white world out there. I was like, Jacob, that's not where we're trying to go here. We're trying to have a different corporate.
It's actually not.
Because it's not. That was just really. I was like, oh, what?
Oh, technology.
Yeah.
So then, okay, this is perfect. So I think we all summed it up pretty well.
Yeah.
For people who might have just been wondering why it's important. As far as LinkUp, for people who might have seen us on social and we've talked about it and put the information out there, I think there maybe people don't really understand how it works. So I don't know. Do you guys want to? Maybe we'll just run through the general way. I mean, right now to be transparent, we're kind of building the plane as we're flying. All of us are very busy people. We don't really have non-profit experience, but we know that we know enough about how to get this going. To make sure that we're tapping into the right people. We know this is the right thing to do, that we have the resources, the leverage, the platforms already between us all to do that. And the passion, we're all fitting it into our lives, so we're doing the best we can. For people who don't know, so there's Jacob and Danielle on the Cenki side, alongside Chris from Hops and Bros, you guys have seen on here many times, who we've referred to today, and Stephen as well, who's handling all the boring but extremely important admin, finances, all of that stuff. So we are a registered non-profit company with a board of directors with all of us on here that we will be adding to. So it's a legitimate company that is through the Quebec and federal government that we are, we're taking this very, very seriously. We have Tiff and I out here, so it's really the six of us that are working on this day to day, whilst we're doing our multiple other projects that we all have. So for as far as sort of how it's working, what we have an idea right now. I don't know who would be best to describe sort of the general way that it works. I mean, maybe Danielle's taking care of the applicants and making sure, she's going to be interviewing everybody and taking care of that. Jacob's doing all the brewery partnerships. He's doing all the design. Tiff and I are doing social media marketing. I'm doing all the comms, the general, communicating with people, bringing those things in, and then who do they need to go to. Chris is doing videography, photography, bringing in a few leads with his brewery contacts. So, between us, we've all got it all pretty sorted. So who would like to maybe just explain how the program can work for both potential applicants of, that identify as BIPOC, just to be very clear. I think we have had some people that maybe didn't understand that's what it was and applied and not realizing that we are trying to only focus on people who identify as BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, people of color. In the industry, and maybe maybe whoever wants to take that.
Well, I think it's LinkUp is a bit of a, and I think we're realizing this, all of us, as we move along. But it's a complex solution to a complex problem. I think. So we're trying. The initial goal, and the goal is still to try to look for any and every way to try to bring change to the brewing industry in terms of diversifying it. So we looked at a bunch of different ways based on our knowledge of the industry and based on conversations we had with people and still have with people of visible minorities to understand what their challenges might be in whether it be with the brewing industry or anything else. But in this case, we try to make it as brewery industry centric as possible. And in having talks amongst ourselves and in talking with different people, we sort of broke it down into three different sort of pillars, if you will, of LinkUp. So one of the first things we'd come up with was we thought the Cicerone Program, and for the people who don't know what the Cicerone Program is, and I'll try to keep this as short as possible, is that it's the equivalent of a beer sommelier. What a sommelier, what a Cicerone is to beer, what a sommelier is to wine, basically. So Cicerone is an organization. They're based out of Chicago, but they have international recognition for their beer certification program. So we were fortunate enough to create a partnership with them. They offered vouchers, and they've helped us out with visibility and whatnot. For people who are curious about the beer industry, we thought that the Cicerone program would be sort of a good segue into I'm not finding the word in English, but to further your beer knowledge, or to really push your beer knowledge further than what it is initially. That said, LinkUp is not designed to bring in people with actual knowledge of the brewing industry. We're trying to bring in people in the industry that are curious about the industry, that find it interesting, that might, be crushing on it from the outside looking in. But because it's such a nerdy sort of, people know their hops. You got people showing up at the breweries. What hops are in there? Oh yeah, I love that. Like, people really know their shit nowadays, which is really cool. But it can also be really intimidating as well. So the Cicerone thing is one thing, and based on what I just said, an apprenticeship program was the other thing that we put in place. And that's the one where I feel it kind of goes really wide, because the brewing industry is not just brewing, it's not just serving beer, it's hop farms, it's malt farms, it's media, which is what you guys are doing. So it's a bunch of different things. It's a full industry. And we didn't want to limit the program to people who only wanted to brew beer. We wanted to include all of those different facets of the brewing industry, because as you said, if you order a beer There's hop growers, there's malt growers, there's the media, and everyone can sort of participate in those different facets of the beer industry. So you could end up drinking 100%, sort of visible minority made beer. It reaches far out. We go to restaurants, we like to know where our meat comes from, our veggies come from. It's the same thing a lot of times with the brewing industry, and there's tremendous sort of contributions that can be brought not only on the production side of things, not only on the front of the house where it becomes very visible that you're inclusive, but really everywhere in the brewing industry. So that facet is what we call in the effort is apprenticeships. So people might not necessarily know a lot about beer, but if they're curious enough to find out, they love to sort of take part in this industry, then LinkUp is there to sort of interview, chat with them, and then see how we can sort of link them up with always.
It just works. I just say no.
when we're doing serious stuff, it gets cracks her up. I love it. But linking up people who are interested and curious in the industry to sort of dig deeper into it and see if it's just curiosity. Is it a passion? Is it? We'd hate for intimidation, or not intimidation, but being intimidated to be a barrier into the brewing industry. So that's what that sort of facet of the program aims to sort of fix. And the last one, in having talks amongst ourselves and with different people of color. And the biggest thing, and I can't emphasize this enough, in order to bring on real change, the most important thing is to listen, right? So we did that, I feel, with LinkUp before we launched it, and why it took a while, because we've been working on this for like
cameo.
There's that. Was a lot of things that came up in those discussions where people were telling us that no industry is really going to change until we get people of visible minorities in position of ownerships, because that's when the change starts to happen. And so we decided to add that to the LinkUp program as well, which is a larger endeavor, because if we are working with someone, if the LinkUp program eventually, and I hope it will, work with someone to open up their own operation, whether it be a brewery, hop farm, whatever it is, it is a larger undertaking. We know that from having gone through it ourselves to open up the brewery, but the LinkUp program is there to help out financially in the best way we can, but also in terms of the networking, building business plans, approaching financial institutions. So all of this stuff that we've been through, and that knowledge that we can pass on to people who are interested, then we want to help do that as much as possible. So it's a complex program. It's hard to explain. We did, throw a lot of it in there to sort of encompass as much of the industry as we could. But those are the three pillars, I feel, of the LinkUp program, where we can best but place people in positions where they can actually find their passion and find the actual facet of the industry that they're interested in, and not just, this is it. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Yes or no, move on or stay with it. It's actually a more complex industry, and we want to expose that as much as possible so that we can bring in as many people as possible to help diversify it at all levels.
There you go.
I love it. So that summarized the real applicant stage for sure. You guys would have also seen, obviously, we're doing all these interviews with all of our, what we call our partner breweries, and we have obviously partner companies across all the different industries that Jacob spoke about there, from the hop farms and yeast labs, and we're working on getting partners in every different segment of craft beer in all different places. It's going to take us some time.
Canning, did we talk
Canning,
about?
we're going to talk into canning, yeast, malt, hops, media, all that type of stuff. Now, how do we get money? How do we get the money to pay for people? Well, we're doing these launches. Obviously, when Jacob and Danielle approached us about doing this, you had the funds that Cenki had raised independently from the Black is Beautiful beer, which gave us a real great head start. I think that's a fantastic situation to be in. And then we are continuing to raise money. People can actually donate via our website, linkupbeer.org. You can actually just donate if you feel so inclined. Also, as we do these collaborations, we have done the 6 week. This is week 5 of 6 with the breweries to start with. And we're going to be doing that at the moment. We're going to do it every quarter with 6 breweries. 6 different breweries. We're planning out the Q4 2021 one right now, which is looking fantastic so far. We're super excited about that. And then those breweries will actually donate part of the sales from our from those beers that they release to LinkUp, which allows us to fund the applicants in the apprenticeships, as Jake was talking about, so on and so forth. For the breweries themselves who become partners, they actually will commit to not only giving, donating the money from that, but also becoming partners so that they can accept apprentices or just jobs, offer opportunities to our applicants of color who want to come in, and we want to make sure they're in the industry. And, particularly there's an extra commitment, I think, from the breweries who work with us, because they have gone over and above and created the beer and put it out there and put their brand behind it, which is extremely valuable for us. And we are immensely appreciative of all of the support we've had so far, which has been exceptional. As you were saying, the response has been amazing. So that's the brewery side. Now, what we realized, like I said, we're building the plane as we're flying it. There are people who have reached out to us who aren't necessarily new to the industry, which is, the main aim is to bring in, hey, you're not familiar with this, please come in, you're welcome. Look at this, look at the opportunity. Some people are already working in the industry, and we've had people reach out, but hey, we're looking for opportunities. And I imagine it's okay to say this now, being that we're moving into this next phase, but we decided as a team that we think we'd like to also add a job board section to LinkUp, so that we can essentially just kind of be the middle people to plug folks in with jobs. So I wanted to mention this, and maybe you guys could expand on it, but just wanted to put the call out to any breweries or any sort of beer adjacent companies to start sending us their job availabilities, because that's something we're going to be creating very, very soon, because we want to be able to offer these opportunities to people to just really plug in and get directly connected with job opportunities that they don't have to go through the program. It could just be we're just offering that.
Exactly.
And then when we have candidates, it allows us to reach out to these breweries, be like, hey, someone comes to us, wants a job. Then we're like, oh, well, we've got these X number of breweries. Where are you based? All right, cool. Let's see. And they'll have the interview with Danielle. So I don't know if you guys want to expand on that, or maybe just the process for people, for the applicants, and how that kind of works. I just want really people to understand what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Applicant side, I was like, I'll leave for Danielle on the applicant side.
In the applicant side, so I think you summed it really well, Craig and Jacob. So if you want to apply to the LinkUp program, there's a form that you can find on our website. It's really just to get to know you, it's not an intimidating form at all. It's really to get a sense of what are your interests. As you said, some people have already some experience or a definite interest in the beer industry, but you don't need to have experience either at working at a brewery or even in the craft beer industry. If you're just interested in partaking in the beer industry, you fill out the form, and then likely me will be connecting with you to do an interview. But it's not like I say interview, but it's more like a meet and greet. It's just chatting session to really see what are the interests of the person and what type of support we think we could be offering, and utilizing the network, the great connections that all of you have, being part of the beer industry for so long, and trying to connect people who have an interest in either working, having an apprenticeship, having some mentoring with breweries that are close to where they live, so they can really get to know, and that there's a sharing of of knowledge and of opportunities between the local breweries and the applicants. So I think like that's just like the baseline. And then, as you said, like this is a new endeavor. So of course, we're going to learn from this. We're going to adapt as much as possible. We're also going to try as much as possible to get feedback from the applicants, like later on, and from the breweries too, to see like, was this like helpful? Is there anything else that we could do different to support the breweries and the applicants to make this as seamless as possible and as easy as possible? I like that you shout out too, like we do have participating breweries right now, but of course, like I think like we're all looking for the more, the more the merrier. And it doesn't need to be complicated. I think like just as a starting point, if a brewery knows that they have an opening, a job opening, and they feel that they want to do the right thing and start by diversifying their staff and the people that work at the brewery, we can be that platform where we can be connecting people that are looking for a job at a brewery to start and then learn about the industry through their own employment. So that's a great way to learn. I think like learning by experience and by being in the field is actually like one of the best ways to learn. And maybe it's going to trigger that much of an interest that people are going to look at podcasts and listen to web series and read about beer and geek on their own way or in their own way if that's something that they want to do. But I think like connecting people with possibly a job opportunity is where it starts. Diversifying the industry starts within the beer industry, within the beer themselves, and then I think it's going to allow and encourage people coming to those local breweries that are close to where they live. So that's kind of it coming up.
Yeah, and just like to go through like a regular application process, let's say, people would be directed to our website through social media, email, whatever. They get in touch. They fill out a very basic application form that's available on the website. From there, one of us will get in touch with you, and then we'll set up not in person, but in person video, whatever it's called nowadays, virtual meeting interview, which we started doing yesterday, and just to get a better of an understanding of what that person's looking for, what their interests are, what's their geographical location. Send someone from Montreal to Toronto or vice versa. And then we're hoping that in getting applicants in, that's going to also, like, breweries.
No.
Oh no.
Why does it do this? He's in the middle of a bar. It'll come back.
Hopefully.
Yeah, this is great though. This is really good. I guess we'll just tell him to dial back in again. So maybe just until I will let Jacob finish, but yeah, it's essentially exactly, he's just talking the process itself. Yeah, you can call back. I'll let him finish, but the process is super simple, and we just really wanted to position this, and what I was trying to get at, I just wanted to, everyone to know how simple it was to get involved. There we go.
And Jacob was on such a good run.
It happened again.
I know.
It's okay.
I know, it interrupted Jacob's run. He had a good,
he's on a vibe. It's okay. We can.
Now he's like, I'm just going to take a quick bio break.
Do you want to continue with what he's saying, maybe? Do you know where he was going with that?
No, but I think he was kind of saying like a little bit of what I was saying too. So I think the goal is really to be able to connect people. It's really simple. So for anyone who wants to apply, that has interest, that knows someone that could be interested, it's really not complicated. We just want to do the right thing and try to pair people with the right path. So depending if it's job opportunities, if it's a Cicerone certification, if it's a formal apprenticeship, like we'll figure it out. And as more applicants come in, as more breweries are participating, and as the network and the word gets around, if maybe this is going to evolve, like if there's any other thing that we could do to support, I think we're all in this for the right reason and to really years of change. So it's not a fixed program. I think it's great that we have this this great platform and a great way to start this adventure, but it might evolve with time as well. So
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Did you want to finish your run at all, Jacob? Before
I don't know where you guys lost me. But no, to sort of go through a regular application process. People can go through the website. We can redirect them through the website. They can fill out a very basic form that sort of indicates what their interests are. We're just trying to gauge, people's levels of interest, what it is they're interested in the brewing industry, where they're actually located, so that we can, limit travel time as much as possible. And I think what I was saying was that breweries sort of help us kind of bringing applicants into different places. But by applying, will also signify to LinkUp that you're in this area and you're interested. So that might make us also reach out to a brewery in that area and sort of pass that further, and it can sort of, take a life of its own and be spread out all over as we think it should anyway. So so it kind of works both ways. And every time I talk about it, I try to tell people, this might not be a Picasso from the jump, because we have never done this, any of us. It's really, we're all really just doing this because we believe in the cause, and it's just something that we want to do. So there might be hiccups along the way. Luckily, so far everything's been has been pretty smooth sailing.
I'd say so. Yeah,
a brand new project. Few things iron out here and there, but we're definitely giving it a very honest try, and participants are going to help us sort of broadcast the effort further as well.
100%.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
With that, do we want to, Tiffany is the time master, we hit like
so
an hour?
We're over time. Of our thing.
But I feel like we encaptured this.
What'd you say?
As expected.
Yes, of course. Yeah, expected.
I really was like.
And it's fair. It's like our project together. So like.
I knew this one would be a little bit on the longer side, because I wanted to really just capture what it was about from the four of us specifically, and just really like get people to understand, because the other ones were really talking about those breweries and what they had dealt with, why they got involved in things like that. Where this is a different conversation. It's why we started it and what we're trying to achieve and how it actually works, because I don't know if we really had the opportunity in these episodes to explain it at have this full hour or so to really get in deep and get into the meat of it, to really understand, because I feel like there might be some folks who have questions who might not really understand what we're trying to do based on just the 20, 30 social posts and such that we've done. And so like if anybody is interested, so just to reiterate that, so if you have any applicants who identify as BIPOC, please reach out to us via any of our social media. We're on top of it. I'm on it daily, email as well. And
form on the website.
Yep, the form is on the website. If you email, you're not sure, you want to know what's going on, I'll point you to the form, and then you'll go through that. Danielle will then get in touch and take it from there. If you're a brewery who's interested, who's just, we've had a few breweries proactively reach out. Like all of the breweries we actually have in this next series have all proactively reached out or have had organic conversations, and they're like, yo, I want to get down with that. And it's beautiful. Like we're just as excited. The next series is fantastic, and we're currently still focusing on Ontario and Quebec. These are our sort of home markets, and it's easier to do that for now, but we do intend on expanding, as Jacob was saying. I think we have 2 applicants who reached out from the States that I think you need to speak to in areas that we hadn't dabbled in. I don't even know if any of us have contacts in that area, so then that might be some cold outreach that we'll move to from there, but everything is doable for this at the moment. So if you're a brewery who is intrigued by this, shoot us a note. We'll talk to you about it. And if you're interested in getting down with even just saying like, hey, sign me up, I'll send you all the jobs. Or like, hey, if you've got someone who's interested in something, keep me in mind. I'm like, boom, fantastic. That's really...
It's a very open discussion and dialogue as well, I feel, with our applicants. It's nothing that's intimidating. It's nothing, you're not going to get asked questions that you won't know answers to or anything like that. I also like to mention for because you guys are in Montreal right now. So if you have francophones or bilingual listeners, we also did a podcast on our podcast at Cinquième Baron, le deuxième étage, which Christophe chatted with me for an hour, and we went long form into what LinkUp really is about. So if you have some francophone listeners or bilingual listeners that want to check that out as well. There's, every time we chat about this, we touch on bits and pieces, and we try to give the sort of the big picture. But if you have questions, anybody has questions, reach out to us. We're responsive. We're there. We're willing to do the work, and it's a really open conversation and discussion that just needs to keep happening. So.
100%.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any other final thoughts before we wrap up that want to just add at all?
Very happy to be doing this with you guys. That's my final thought.
So are we,
right?
That's my final
This
thought.
is the first podcast. What a great experience with you guys.
Oh, yeah, your first podcast. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, you're the podcast queen.
Yeah.
No, you guys are fantastic. It's a genuine honor to be doing this with you guys. Like I said, we were fans of you guys before we even connected, and just to be working with this, and we're all figuring it out together, and it's a challenge at times, but the vast majority of times it's been pretty smooth. We're all pretty open. No one is difficult. We're like, hey, does this work? We debate back and forth. All right, that makes sense. Boom. And it's been a genuine pleasure to work this out together and to build something that we all feel is bigger than us. It's not about us. That's why we're really trying to keep all of our brands a little bit on the low. Some of the breweries early on mentioned them and mentioned all of us. We're like, I love you guys for doing that. It's really sweet, but you didn't, we're just trying to let this program speak for itself, and it's just really cool because to work with people like all four of the guys from the Cenki team and us, and it's just been a genuine pleasure. And we're really finding the groove now, and it's really smooth to work. And we're really starting to figure things out. Even as something like you guys were both saying, as something new comes in, we're able to easily pivot and be like, hey, there's a new need. Now we need a job board, and now we can do that. So. We're super nimble and small team, but tight knit, and it's just really, really cool, and it's something that I know we are incredibly proud of, and I imagine you guys are all too. And it's only just beginning, and it's an exciting thing to be putting out into the world at a time where things are very divisive and kind of shaky and crazy. We're trying to do the opposite and bring some togetherness and inclusiveness with everybody, and just. At the very least, if the world is crazy, let's make craft beer cool.
There you go.
Have everybody involved. And that's all we can do.
It's been the adaptability of the team has been a testament to, I think, our commitment to the cause and just really wanting to do the right thing and what we believe in. And I know, speaking for us at Cinquième Baron, we have a really stick-to-itiveness mentality. Where, for example, some of the beers we came out with at first, lagers, wouldn't necessarily stick, and we were just like, that's what we believe is our path, and we're going to bring sort of that same mentality with LinkUp, where it's not something that's going to go away. It's going to keep happening, and we encourage breweries to reach out. We're going to reach out to you guys as well. And it's really a lot of fun. And just if I may touch on something else, talk about the brewery collaborations. We try to make it as fun as possible for breweries. We want them to brew a style of beer that talks to them. So they're welcome to brew any type of beer they want. The artwork is up to them. So every brewery has their brand. We don't want to impose the brand on anyone. The only thing we ask is that they call a beer LinkUp to sort of create that link to the program and have the logo featured somewhere. It can be on the back of the can, whatever, it doesn't matter. But we try to make it as fun as possible for participants, applicants, and participating breweries, as well as for ourselves. So we've been having a blast doing this with you guys for the past several months, and we're going to keep at it. So yeah, looking forward to the next block. It's been a blast.
Yes, it has.
Amazing. I love it. Let's take the thumbnail, and then we'll do the everyone will wrap up, and then we can say goodbye after. So
just
if you guys
one
want
quick photo for the.
There you go. You know the vibes. All right.
Okay,
you ready?
I'm ready for it.
Get in there. Oh, that is
There you go.
stunning.
Wonderful. Oh,
Stunning.
love it.
Thank you. You guys are the best. Oh my gosh. That is a gorgeous photo. You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find Cenki and Barrette online, guys?
Online, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We're at Cenki and Barrette. Our beers, we try to come up with usually 5 different beers at the brewery. I don't want to make this a plug for the brewery. That's not what it's about. But follow us at Cenki and Barrette everywhere, and come visit us in Aylmer. It's a beautiful town, wonderful people, great restaurant scene. It's a really cool spot. So come check us out in Aylmer. There's a lot of cool things happening, and this is where this idea originated, Aylmer in Montreal. So we're linked up forever, Tiffany.
There you go.
There you go. Found a way.
Killing
there
it.
you go. Yeah.
For the Anglophones,
say hi if you're interested. You can talk to us at the brewery and reach out. We're interested in hearing from breweries and applicants and everyone really. So yeah.
Absolutely. And for the Anglophones listening, because I've been talking about obviously you guys a lot to different people, particularly in Ontario last week, and they're like, "Oh, that's how you say it, Cenki, huh?" So it's 5.
Oh, they're probably like 5E.
Yeah.
5E Baron.
Yes.
It's much easier than that. It's actually 5th Baron if you want to translate.
If you want to be,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly
So,
what it is. So, we encourage Anglophones because we have a large Anglophone population in Aylmer. So it's 5th Baron for Anglophones.
Yes.
So it's that simple.
yes, and 5E BARON on social everywhere for those people.
On the social.
Yes.
We use the French version on the social, so it's the number 5 E and Baron. So 5E BARON on social media.
Yeah,
Perfect. Because we always forget there's also audio listeners who aren't seeing your T-shirt right now. So
Yeah.
I sometimes always forget to spell things out.
There you go.
So yes, everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, mate, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast. Also, follow LinkUp at LinkUp Beer everywhere. We're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it's social at linkupbeer.org. If you are interested in the program, if you have any questions, or DM us like we were saying on any of the social media. We'll be back next week with the final LinkUp episode, and then this season will just be touched back in at the end of the year when we do the next round of collaboration. So guys, stick around. We'll wrap up. But thank you so much for watching and listening, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Chat soon.
Thanks.